So judging purely from the cover of this report, Shelley, what are some things that you might think would be quoted in the report?
It's, actually not a lot about Africa or poor countries. It's a lot about Europe.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, let's talk about Europe.
Well, it's actually about how the CCP is starting these overseas police service centers. So they're not technically legally police stations, but they're just like helpful service centers that, overseas Chinese people can call if they need the Chinese police to help them with anything.
So Chinese police are like keeping a close eye on Chinese people anywhere in the world, basically.
Well, this is one of those things where the CCP uses like a legitimate problem. In this case, telecom fraud and scammers.
Whoa.
Yes,
I wasn't expecting
you
that.
You weren't expecting it to go there. And because a lot of this telecom fraud is actually being done by Chinese people who are overseas in different places.
Oh, like the scam where it's like, you have a package at the Chinese consulate.
Right. A lot of these are scams that target the Chinese community too, in different ways.
I get the messages in Mandarin sometimes as well.
Yeah. And then people are freaked out because they don't know what it is. It's not usually the CCP spying on you. It is some scam to make people afraid that they have to go to the Chinese consulate for some reason unless they pay some money.
Wow. And you got all this from not reading the report.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, that's just background about what telecom fraud is, right? Yeah. So the Chinese police are using telecom fraud as an excuse to establish these overseas service centers and voluntarily persuade people to go back to China.
You see my eyebrow raising, audience?
It is actually quite diabolical in a certain way because they're able to, like I said, use something that's actually a problem and then be like, oh, well, we're helping people by doing this. Like we've started these we've gotten hundreds of thousands of these people to voluntarily return to China to be, prosecuted and things like that. Whereas in a lot of these cases, the safeguard defenders actually found proof that some of the people were not actually doing any telecom fraud. They happen to just be living overseas in countries where there is a lot of telecom fraud. And just being like forced to go back to China. They're calling them persuade to return campaigns, but actually what that means is, they either target your family in China and make them call you and tell you that you have to come back to China or else they're going to get arrested or they're not going to be allowed to go to school anymore or like all these different things. Or they directly get undercover agents abroad, like undercover police officers or MSS agents to come and persuade you to go back to China voluntarily.
So who are these people that they are targeting since they're not telecom fraudsters?
Right now it appears that they are people who have committed some kind of crime either in China or overseas to other overseas Chinese people. Like, this is why I say it's like they're using something that appears legitimate at first, but then other people get, kind of caught up in the dragnet where they weren't actually doing anything wrong, but for some reason they get caught up in this and forced to return. But the other thing is that, like, once they set up this system, that can be used for anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting in that, like, so far they've only found two different provinces in China, two different areas in China that have set up these overseas police stations. And there are already 54 of them, mostly in Europe.
Two provinces set up 54.
Between them.
Wow.
And so where are some places where they're set up?
Like a majority of them are in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Italy, Portugal, Austria, the Netherlands, the UK, Ireland.
So countries most
Greece,
people haven't heard of.
Yes. Hungary, Ukraine, the Czech Republic, Sweden. There is one in New York, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we go visit? Can we invite them to tea?
I don't know.
Invite them to tea.
That's right.
I don't know if that one's been So like Safeguard Defenders has been trying to find out where all these were, and so these are only the ones they've been able to find, and a lot of them are associated with these Chinese overseas home associations, like the Chinese Fujian Association or whatever, like from a specific area in China. Those we've known for years are often United Front groups.
Or human trafficking even.
So they are, supposed to be there to help, overseas Chinese people, adapt to their local area, or if they need help or services or something like that. But actually they're United Front linked groups where they're there to promote CCP influence in those countries. So it is interesting to me that like there's so many of these in Europe.
So is this related at all to like Operation Skynet, the kind of MSS?
Kind of, or like Skynet and Fox Hunt.
Yeah.
In the sense that they use a lot of the same tactics, but Fox Hunt and Skynet were supposed to be targeting higher level people, like former CCP officials, or, ProPublica actually did a great article on Fox Hunt last year where they used the story of this Wuhan police officer who had come to the U.S. on a tourist visa and was actually stalking this Chinese, former Chinese official living in New Jersey, and like to kind of kidnap him and bring him back to China. So those are targeting higher level people. This is targeting telecom fraud or whatever. So right now, this is not doesn't have the resources that program has, but it is very similar in what it does. And I think one of the things about this program that makes it a little bit even more concerning is not only the connection to the United Front, but how this is basically putting pressure on overseas Chinese people to report on each other.
Oh,
right?
Really?
I mean, like you can call the Overseas Police Service Center and be like, I have a problem with this person. Like they stole from me. Or whatever, and then they'll go like this is the kind of success story that they promote right now where they're like, and then we found his former employee who stole from him and arrested him in China, or like we found somebody who had fled overseas and arrested them and sent them back to China. This is all, by the way, they don't work with like local law enforcement or anything. This is all like
I'm surprised these countries are allowing essentially.
I don't think they really know about it.
Really?
I mean, this is all stuff in Chinese, and like it is. I think this would be essentially considered illegal in most of the places it's happening because
But you're just there's something strange in your neighborhood, and so who are you going to call?
The 110 Overseas Police Service Station. It's called 110, by the way, because that's like the 911 of China.
I kind of hate to say this, but I was having the same thought Matt had about because you said who are you going to call? I think at one point.
Oh, that's why.
So, but like it's basically like they're setting up as we're here to help, and in a rule of law country like most European countries, it's like you have community groups that offer help for all sorts of things, not just Chinese community groups. You have all sorts of them, right? And so it really legally would fall under the scope of that.
I'm actually not sure because this is not like the neighborhood watch, right? It's not like local Chinese people in Italy coming up with this way for, people to contact the police. This is being set up by police departments inside China.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the nefarious part is how it's like, it's really the intention of it is very different, right? But I can also see how it can easily slip through the Italian legal system, for example.
This is new also. It's only been since January of this year
I see.
that these have been starting to be established overseas.